All right. There we go. All right. So, all right. Good evening, everybody. I would like to welcome you to the Reconnect. Um, this is a dialogue from uh, previously previously recorded last night's broadcast, where we talked about um, black manhood and the need for black femininity. Um, in that show, there were points brought up by some of our panel, one of our panelists, or a few of our panelists, brought up the idea of black men being seen as monsters, um, and even as predatory. And our brother Daktari, whom I've worked with for 20 years, and became a man with. And my manhood, we studied, worked together, studied, worked together, done things on the fly for our community where I believe that many of us, just like myself, would be able to see Dr. as an asset, as a true asset to the black community. In his point that he was making yesterday about predatory behavior, he made a comparative analysis to not only black men being predatory, but he said that women can also be predatory too. And I had to defend that at the end of the show because I don't want anyone to misconstrue my brother's wording. My brother was speaking from a comparative analysis in which he understands the experiences of himself first as a black man. Um, Even my experiences, he has very vast knowledge of, and some other brothers, Mr. T, who was a part of it, Tone, and even Norm, whom actually all of us met each other through Brother Daktari. I wanted to say this about that in in reference to what my brother was saying. Brother Daktari is a very analytical, um, well thought out brother. So when he speaks, he's speaking not just from contemporary points. He is speaking from a very um, well studied, well thought out point of view. Um, in fact, I would even cheapen him to say that he's a philosopher or even an ideologue. I couldn't say that because the brother's knowledge is so wide. In fact, that's why I refer to him as our intellectual anchor. And the work that we have done before this podcast, um, my brother has always jumped in, um, dove in head first, and has often um, been so instrumental in the work that we have done with organizations that people continue to this day to still reach out to him, especially the organizations where we have done things that have come with the protection of black women. So oh, I'm sorry, I don't know if I lost you guys, but so my defending my brother um, really comes at ease. This is not even something that I feel like was would really be needed, but with today's times and with the way that black men are looked at, I have to say this about him that his work is paramount in our community. His work with children, with the actually we work with the Coalition Against Police Brutality. Back in 2008, we did things that where we went around and we patrolled neighborhoods and um, did things where we protected families and homes, and we investigated situations where mothers were there with their children, and he was a very important part of that because he was in charge of a lot of things, movement that we were making inside of those things. Even when it came down to teaching and mentoring children, He has always been a great asset. He's been a great teacher. In fact, I think that is his greatest strength. When we moved on those things, the one thing that I could say is that what I learned from Brother Daktari is the way he has always been an honest person. He's always been a very honest speaker. He's a very loyal human being. Um, so his comments, or when someone approached him about his comments last night on the panel about his the predatory comments, as if he was saying that black men or that men couldn't be predators. No, he wasn't saying that. He was saying that there's a predatory behavior that is on both sides, and that is something that we need to be that needs to be recognized, and it should not only be placed in the lap, especially not only in the lap of black men, because black men have often been victims of predatory behavior, excuse me, ourselves. And he knows of, like I said, he knows of his own mind. Um, Even the brothers who were part of the panel, he knows of their issues and other issues, and he has sought to help people in their issues. So this is something that I don't want us to make this to ever get when the brother is making his comparative analysis about things and the choice of wording and things like that. I don't want us to ever get caught out there believing that our brother doesn't love black women. In fact, I can tell you stories about how um, the way the brother uh, talked about the beauty of a woman, and it shocked me because I had never heard him speak of a woman like that. He was so respectful, but he thought this woman's beauty was so powerful that
You
he made
love telling the story.
he made a comment, and it shocked me, and I looked at him like, "Man, you talk like that?" It wasn't even a bad comment. It was just he was just so respectful to women that him speaking like that caught me off guard. In fact, I would tell a brother I thought he was an angel because it took me a long time to hear him sneeze. I never heard the brother sneeze. So um, he's our brother. He's my brother for sure. And he's definitely your brother if you really learn to listen to him and understand him, because he's a very thought out brother, always have been, and his comparative analysis is only to point out inconsistencies that may hinder or harm our relationships with our women. So that's all I wanted to say about that. I'm always thankful and grateful to this brother. I'm grateful that I know this brother. So with that being said, Doctor, are you here, brother?
Yes, sir. Appreciate the comments.
Yes, sir, brother. Absolutely, man. Yeah. I wanted to talk with you, let you expound on your perspective of last night, your take on last night, and the comments that were brought up.
I think a lot of things, kind of got lost in translation. I remember the first question was, or one of the earlier questions where I don't remember if it was the first question. I thought it was. Basically, can the black men and black woman, uh, reconcile? My answer was no.
Okay.
Remember, I just said
You
no.
said
That
no.
was it.
Right.
Then I believe Mr. T kind of answered the question, and his position was that we couldn't reconcile either. And he began to talk about his perspective of how women see black men.
Yes, sir.
And he proceeded to use the, the adjective monster
Hmm.
to be a description of how he believes black women see black men. Then our brother Tony sort of weighed in on it with a question, basically stated, I'm summarizing here, uh, basically questioning, yeah, but do women have a right to see us as monsters? And I take great issue with that, not from uh, uh, an issue of having a lack of accountability for black men and our behavior. That ain't what I'm taking issue of or issue with. It seems as though when we talk about our own experiences and how we have been done by black women, or what we our perspective of how we've been treated by black women, we then go to their defense. And this is what Dr. T. Hassan was talking about when he talked about his class, and how he talked about the black man's plight, and how it always ends up turning back into um, what happened to women. And so when Tone began to describe us in a ugly, despicable way to me, um, as sexual deviances,
Hmm.
as rapists, as beasts in the wild, if you
Mhm.
will, as he talked about the majesty of the lion.
Right.
Like, and what could we do if it was a lion, sitting right there? The lion basically could just, overtake us or whatever. And I wanted to speak against that, but I didn't want to tackle. Uh, I didn't want to use that moment to specifically talk about us when we were talking about black women. And how um, we feel about our relationship with them, or lack thereof. And so that was where my comments were aimed at. You're saying we are predators, and I'm saying that in itself can't be used as an example um, to illustrate her behavior against us. If it can be, then I'm okay with that, and we could talk about that. But we must also address the predatorial things that we face while dealing with the black woman. And it doesn't seem like we are open for that. And that was what I was trying to do yesterday. It wasn't to shift blame. It wasn't to say, oh, you threw a rock, so I throw a rock too. No, that's childish. But it
Right.
is to shed light, or to make a part of the public narrative, um, that we don't tend to talk about our plight with our women in a specific way in terms of black male victimization. We don't do that. And
Right.
that was what my goal was.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So with and I'll just give you, just a little bit of my thoughts last night. I mean about last night's show. I totally understood where you were coming from. Um in fact, I had to be real, a lot of the points that were made last night, um, I thought were really um, valid points. They were very valid points. My I don't want to say issue, but I think that my only thing is, and this is just from a business perspective, or a broadcast perspective, is that we do. I think a lot of times what happens is um, we're having personal dialogue, but we do have to be um, aware that we do have an audience watching, so they may not understand exactly where we're coming from, or what we're saying and why we're saying what we're saying. Just as I was saying, that you understood my background. He understands my background because he knows that I raised a child for 18 years that wasn't mine.
That's right.
Um, and the court system
That's right.
drove me around, fucked me around. I would say, and to be honest, just to say it plainly, they fucked me around. And she wound up finding her father, her actual father, and I still haven't heard from the girl or her mother. You see what I'm saying? No one has called me and said, uh, thank you, fuck you, nothing. They haven't said a word to me. They haven't, So when you when you look at where my brother was coming from last night, though, that is the thing that he's talking about. In fact, um, to give you a, even to and we got a sister here, Sister Marietta here, um, just so she'll understand, just to give her a deeper insight to what happened was, just a few years ago, her mother had admitted. I already knew she wasn't mine. Okay, I mean, your
Yeah, we
children.
all knew clearly you are not the
Everybody knew,
father.
but looking, I mean, and looking at her, she was tall. I have nothing about me says tall. You know what I'm saying? But um, her mother even the few like funny, ironically, as I'm giving her money for this young lady's prom dress, she tells me, she admits to me after she's getting this money from that I'm not her father. And I told her I know I wasn't her father. For the whole 18 years, I knew I wasn't her father, but I chose as a man to be there. And I can say idiotically I did, but most people would say, "Oh, well, you did what needed to be done." Yeah, but that shit comes back to bite, and it hurts. And that's a pain that a lot of
Can I
people.
cut in right there?
Yes, sir, go ahead, brother.
Why idiotically?
Why idiotically? What that I
It's a yeah, yeah. Because that's the point that I'm trying to stress. Like we can look at you being a man saying that, hey, because I remember what you said to me. You said she
Mhm.
needs a father.
Yes, sir.
Now, I asked the question. Like, let me just give you my perspective, and you could tell me if I'm right or wrong.
Hmm.
The reason the word idiotically came out was because there is no appreciation for
No,
what you did.
for what I did, there
Right,
was
no appreciation, right?
in
No
fact,
appraisal. And
right,
not in a sense where we men, we do not need you to say, yay, you did this.
right,
But the appreciation in the stance of what are you willing to do? What are you willing to defend? How are you willing to treat me?
right.
If I've if I've stood up to the plate.
Yes, yes, sir.
That's why the term you use it idiotically.
Idiotically, because
Because it
you
was
know,
dull,
it was
stupid.
stupid, and it was even you know, at the time after she admitted that to me that I wasn't her father, that that she wasn't mine. The court sent out papers, and to where she could have easily just said no, he's not the dad, and left it at that. But in order to get the last little bit of arrears for child support, she never, she would never tell the court. So I was still stuck, even 2 years later, after she admitted carrying that bag,
But we want to act like these are isolated incidences,
and they're not,
and they not.
and they're not. So when black men speak from the position of her, yes, we know our women have been hurt. In fact, I say this, and I want to, because I had to think about it, a little bit. I want to apologize to Mr. T for my explosion at him yesterday, because I do understand that the brother is hurt, because we all are.
Yes, sir.
I have my position of how I think, but that's only my position, and it's not something that should be pushed out, or that I should see every man should act like me in the midst of hurt. You know what I'm saying? Or in the midst of harming,
Yes.
stand up, chest out, nigga, and head chin up. You know what I'm saying? Because that's how, you know, because that's how I face things. But and there was a reason that I called him our visceral voice, because he is our voice of emotion. He is our voice of pain and hurt in this. And while um, you know, I play mainly host or facilitator, and you are our analytical speaker, and we have our guests and their points of views. We still need the world to see that there are T's, and there's a T inside every last black man that we
But
know.
but isn't it interesting when we get Mr. T how they actually use his emotions
against him to invalidate his argument or his experiences.
Absolutely.
You
It's
see,
very,
you see what I'm saying?
it's
That's
very interesting.
what they want us to. What our women, I'm gonna speak to our women. Our women want us to emote a certain type of way,
Hmm.
but but oftentimes we hear this when we show them, it's not received in a way that will allow us to be comfortable with doing so.
No, can let me give you another one. Okay.
Oh,
Go ahead, baby.
can you
Go
what you just said, Daktari? Can you give me an example of what you just stated? Like, explain, elaborate on that.
On what?
On what you said about you, women don't they don't accept that when you give that emotion, they're not accepting it. Can you give an example of that?
Yeah. So well, I will be speaking on behalf of my brother because I don't really pay attention to it. I couldn't give you an experience from me because I really don't care. Um, I'm I'm not the person that really would personally. I'm kind of not an emotional brother. You understand what I'm saying? I'm kind of not. So I have to speak to the experiences of some of my other brothers. So when my brother is talking about whatever his experiences are, and he becomes emotional, right? And he talks about his upbringing, his childhood, or he talks about a good one is he talks about racism and white supremacy and how that takes hold, how that affects a man and sometimes his ability, at least in his mind, to be able to provide for his family and his children.
Hmm.
And women are basically like, I don't want to hear that old white man shit. I don't want to deal with that systemic racism. You're just too lazy and you don't want to do A, B, and C.
ahead.
Okay.
Yeah. I
Which
can.
is and let me say this. Let me say this. I'm saying that is our norm. I'm not saying that this is that every black woman is
Right.
responding this way. But I will not I will. To me, it doesn't make sense to try to do that, right? Because when women were out there saying, "Black men ain't shit," we as black men understood that they didn't mean
Every
each
black man.
black
Right.
man,
Right.
right? We knew that, so there's no reason to speak to that. We don't
Right.
have to say
Mhm.
that. We're speaking of our average, of what we think is the average,
Yes.
Or by experiences, you know.
or what's fair, our collective
Yes.
experiences.
Right.
And when you
Hmm.
have a bunch of collective experiences, they're just not coincidental.
No. Right.
And that's
Absolutely.
the key. Because even, and I'm not saying you doing this, but even when because if you ever heard me speak on the show, you'll hear me say something. You'll hear me say my own experience means nothing because it's not empirical. It's just what I've experienced. But
Right.
when you
Right.
take when you let's take lynching for example. When you take hold on, they lynching people in Mississippi, or maybe that's in Mississippi. Wait a minute, they doing it in Georgia. Wait a minute, South Carolina. Wait a minute, North Carolina. Maybe it's a South. Oh my God, it happened in Milwaukee. When we
Right.
think about when we think about blockbusting and redlining. Oh, that maybe that's just a northern thing. What? Oh, they did it in Georgia. Hold on, it happened in Milwaukee. It happened in Tennessee. We can understand that these are not isolated incidences,
Yes. Right.
and a lot of
Mhm.
times the language, even when we use like our own experiences, it's a subtle way of saying, "Oh, that's just you."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mhm.
Oh, absolutely. And even from brothers that sister, I want you to understand. Jesse. You remember Jesse, right?
Yes.
Yeah. You know, um, yeah. Not both. The have had to deal with um our children being turned against us. In fact, if you go to our Reconnect channel, the brother Dr. Mr. T, and myself, we talk. Mr. T talk from the child, from being a child of a parent that left. Dr. has his children, and I have my son. Where we all speak openly and honestly about our experience of being estranged from each other and how those things happen. Um, in fact, Jesse, um, and I hope you don't mind me speaking about this, has a son that's in South Carolina that he's finally, um, I think a year ago, he told me he finally had a chance to have a conversation with the kid. You know what I'm saying? And the boy looked just like him. I think he's part of he's in the fraternity. He's graduated. He's working on his master's or his PhD one, but um, the kid is he didn't get a chance because the mother and her feelings about whatever it was that her and Jesse went through, or what she felt like she shouldn't have to deal with, um, she kept him away, and the boy never got a chance to know his father. And Jesse always wanted to know him. But the thing is, what you would hear people say is, "Well, you didn't fight hard enough for your children."
Yes, we hear that a lot.
What
Mhm.
what Why do I have to fight to be a
Yeah.
father? Where does that, and I don't know if you can answer that or speak to that or understand why women would say that or anyone would say that, but what do you understand, the psychosis behind that a man has to be that a man that can only be a dedicated father if he's fighting for
I
his child?
think I think each situation is different. That does happen to a few people, where the woman takes the child away, and sometimes it could be for her own selfish reasons. But I think it depends on the situation because women, they have to do what they have to do. If they have to be the main primary caregiver, they have to move away and they have to take that child with them. A lot of times what they're going through is not to make sure that the father is going to make his way down to where the child is. So it depends on the situation. I don't know Jesse's situation, if he indeed tried to reach out to relatives to get in contact with this child, but it just varies from each situation. But I do know what you mean, that
And I
some
think,
women can be
oh,
selfish and self-serving and say, if you're not going to be with me, I'm not going to let you see your child, or things are not going that way.
Right, right,
yeah, I would be honest here. Where I have a tremendous blind spot and weakness is situations.
Hmm.
Because I'm a principle guy. And
right,
and I come from the era where your mother and father taught you how to cross the street so you can get to the other side safe on any road in the world. And not if it's a boulevard, not if it's a street that has an island in it, not if it's a one way, not if it's you know what I'm saying? So this is a true issue because there are too many situations to where we as men have to fight to establish a relationship with our children.
right.
The
I get
principle
that. I
is
understand that. Let me just say my I didn't let you guys know this, but my career is a social worker. So I work in
oh,
child
beautiful.
welfare.
Okay.
And this is what we work on constantly is family finding and making
Hmm.
sure that the father is aware, even if he's an absent father, if he does not know of the child, we make sure that we try and track that father down because society has before done away with everything is about the mother, and they're trying to fix that to where
Yeah, they
they're
are.
locating these fathers.
They are. I know for
Mhm.
a fact they are. Um, I've actually, if you go back and listen to the show about us talking about our children, um, I talked about how my children was taken from me for 9 years.
Mhm.
But what people don't get to hear is me talk and what they want to hear. What women, I would say, from my perspective of talking to women, what they would like to hear is me talk about my part in my children being taken away from me for 9 years, as
Mm,
if what I've done validates uh that that type of behavior because it makes it palatable for them to be able to and I'm speaking to women in general, for them to be able
Mhm.
to understand it. But when we talk about, I could just, if I was standing on the corner, sister, and me and you was just talking about this, somebody would walk past, they'll join in the conversation, it'll be church. It has happened
Mhm.
more often than not.
yeah.
We will be talking about the game,
we'll be at basketball gyms playing basketball, and somebody will reference the plight that they have with the black woman, and basketball stops, and it turns into church. And these people who do not know each other, who we tend to think that maybe this is the same woman, maybe she has a twin, maybe they
Right.
triplets, maybe they, you understand what I'm saying? So like Lamar said, like of our crew, I was the, you remember the movie Menace to Society, sister?
Yes.
It was a terrible movie. It's terrible. The black men are monsters. That's all we are, just monsters.
No, it ain't
Just
worth the
monsters.
telling.
You know what I'm saying? But I was the Sharif of the crew.
Mhm.
You didn't hear me refer to women as B's and O's.
Not at all.
As a matter of fact, when they did, I checked them.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't like they really cared about me because we all boys. Like, nigga, shut up. I don't want to hear that shit. You don't want to hear that, right? I've been in situations, I've been in sexual situations with sisters, and my brothers be like, and you didn't do nothing? Like, nah, bro, I don't see it like that. I just walked out. And they like,
Right.
that's because you are a
Depressing.
homosexual, brother. That's what it is. I believe you are gay. These are my brothers. So, what end up turning Sharif into old dog? See what I'm saying? It's when I took it wasn't my own experience. It was this man you see right here on the screen, Adisa's experience. It was Black's experience. It was Will's experience. It was
Yeah.
my brother Norm's experience. It's my collective experience. I wasn't going through this. They had children before me.
Yeah.
And they will all say, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm the most analytical guy they probably know. But it didn't happen until I met one of them. And then when I had to get baptized into this, then I began to look at it differently. But not only that, begin to read literature and begin to assess this situation from a different standpoint. So when I'm saying I don't believe that black men and black women would be able to reconcile, I am not saying that it's the black woman's fault. I'm not saying that that's their fault. Now I do got some blame for some black women, and I'm willing to be proven wrong. But I'm not saying that it's their fault. I'm saying you hear me make an analogy with COVID, and I said when COVID hit, the world changed.
Right.
When women were intimated into the workforce after World War I, the world changed. When men came home from the war and back into the factories, and women were able to now be in those factories and procure wealth or monetary gain for themselves, that was a different thing that we never had to deal with. The attitude, and I'm not saying that it was a negative attitude, because if you feel oppressed and you got some sort of liberty or freedom, that comes with an attitude.
Yeah.
It comes with a certain attitude, but it's still something that needs to be adjusted. So what I'm saying, as we deal with racism and white supremacy, I will not ignore the psychological ramifications of that nefarious system. Not at all. But I don't care. And the reason that I don't care is because it is my understanding that whatever we went through, and you can correct me, I'm willing to make my words soft so I can be corrected, just in case I have to swallow them. According to my understanding, enslavement, racism, white supremacy, uh, uh, we talking about the prison industrial complex, we talk about the crack cocaine era. It seemed to me that none of those things that had been implemented by a nefarious system had anything to do with us not realizing we needed you.
Right.
We need you.
We need
And it
you.
wasn't nothing that white man can tell us about you. He said you was a crack baby. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. And then when we further examine it empirically, we see it ain't even you.
Yeah, right.
Said you were welfare moms,
Welfare queen. Right.
beneficiaries of right. So in books like The Pursuit of Happiness, which studies it studies affirmative action, right? It's an in-depth study of affirmative action. When we do the empirical research and we see Wait a minute. Black women ain't on this shit like white women are.
Right.
We don't believe this.
No, we
We
don't believe
never
that.
believed it. But the moment feminism came into the play, and then you tried to go with second wave feminism, and then you want to reclass it with Keisha Crenshaw and her intersectionality, feminist black theory as it relates to sex and gender, right? All of that,
Right.
all of that didn't have nothing to do with us
Yeah.
because we never seen you as a part as segregated from us, no matter what we went through. But all of a sudden, when you come up with all these different feminist views, the black woman made sure that she didn't want to align her boat with white women. She didn't want to say, well, I am a feminist because I do believe in the upward mobility and rights on behalf of women. I just happen to be a black one. She wanted to separate herself from white feminist views. Is that not correct?
Yes, it's
But
correct.
when it comes to the so-called patriarchy, and at least in a public as a public narrative, black men don't get a chance to separate ourselves from his nefarious views on masculinity. That wasn't us.
Hold on, I'm sorry. I just added. I'm sorry. I just added. Sister Aya, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay.
Okay, so
Good
Good,
evening, everyone.
good
good
evening.
Good
evening. How are you?
evening.
So well, what I'm saying, that's just my observation. I'm saying that we not here to be taken from you.
Hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And I'm not speaking to a repressive system that places pressure on us and have us blaming each other. I kind of you can really that's a weak perspective to have in this argument. It is so open to a counterpunch. I'm agreeing with that. I'm just speaking that whatever we went through, we never seen you as not of a part of us. But
Right.
it seems as though what we're going through, we don't get to see y'all as a part of us anymore.
Well, when I had spoke to Lamar, and I did hear the first segment, and I made reference to what you're saying now about black women feeling like abandoned by the black man, and when you say never separated yourselves, in that sense, we have felt abandoned by black men when we talk about leaving away from the home, leaving your children, not being the provider anymore, being abused by them. We have felt separated.
Oh,
We definitely have felt separated. I mean, we have songs about it. Papa was a rolling stone, right?
Hmm. Yes.
Wherever he laid his hat, that was his home. Um, we certainly see the preponderance of successful black men choosing white women or non-black women
Yeah.
over black women. Um, we certainly hear the dialogue, the language, particularly now in hip hop. I mean, we're going to hear a black woman called a B before we hear anything else, a B and a hoe and all of that stuff. So there has been a separation. And we can talk about why the separation, but what I'm really interested in is how we mend the bridges again.
oh,
Because
see, I ain't
bottom
definitely
line
ain't know
is
that.
we both need each other.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't have that answer. I would like to respond to hip hop and you know I'm down one. You know, it's like that's like
Yes.
my God. Like I ain't um so I guess when we hear Papa was a Rolling Stone, I don't hear I guess I see that from a obviously I'm a man, so I would see that from a different perspective, right? I don't
Right.
see that as in the perspective of us actually leaving the home. In that sense, I do hear uh and I've read things where men were alienated and forced from the home.
Mhm.
And you always could talk. There were men. That's why policies were passed on behalf of of women to reconcile these issues. I won't. I'm not here to say that that didn't happen, right?
I'm here to say that I don't trust the level at which people said it happened.
Yeah.
That's on that end. And as it relates to hip hop is actually telling what it is that they feel and what they see. Too Short. I mean, to me, he can't wrap a Christmas gift on December 24th. That's my opinion. In an interview years ago, he talks about how he was made famous from one word.
Right.
And we know what that word is if we listen to Too Short, right?
Right.
But he talked about that type of woman, right? We talk about a type of woman. That woman that we experience that's not like another woman, right? That's what he was saying. So when you have Jay-Z say a line, he say, sisters give up the ass. Say bitches give up the ass. Say sisters, they do it slow, but bitches, they do it fast. We're talking about an attitude. I'm not here to condone or to speak for or speak against it. I'm just saying that in these lyrics of hip hop, we're talking about the way we feel and how we see it.
It's an emphasis.
Is that what we're talking about, or is that what is being promoted because people are trying to quote unquote secure the bag? Because
Good question.
if I look at the Ray Charles song that Jamie Foxx remade, when you read the lyrics of the Ray Charles song, he is talking
who?
about how great
Ray
of a
Charles.
woman she is.
Okay,
By the
yeah.
time Jamie Foxx and I don't know who he remade it with, Kanye West or whatever, remake the song,
Yeah.
she ain't
Yes.
nothing but a gold digger. So what I'm
Yes.
saying is we have an industry that we don't control, but that decides who they're going to let into the gate and who they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So we went from conscious rap, KRS-One, Most Def, and it's all about gangster, bitch, this. There is no other culture that sings about its women in the way black men do. So when we talk about did black men separate themselves or not, how many times you going to call me a bitch and a hoe for whatever excuses you have for me to keep saying, oh, I'm down with you. And let's look at the statistics, because this isn't about opinions.
Talking about empirical. Okay.
No. Let's talk about statistics.
Okay.
The black woman is the least likely to be married, and she
25%.
wants to be married. But she's the least likely to be married of all the cultures. You are not going to hear white men call their women out of their names in that way. In fact, they will lynch us if we so much as looked at their woman the wrong way. You will not hear Jewish men doing that. You will not see Latino men doing that. You will not see Asian men doing it. But black men, we are all up and down the airwaves everywhere, disrespecting our mothers, our sisters, our daughters.
If I may chime in, right? Because I'm not championing that, sister. But if I may chime in, the same, I like algebra. Whatever we put on one side, we got to put on the other side, right? Let's look at how black men observe black women, right? Now, I use the word observe. I won't say that this is a fact, this is a fact, that, right? I won't even go there, right? You said you won't see the white man talk about his woman, the Jewish man talk about his woman. Well, in those church settings that I tell you about, that I was just spoke about, how black men, when we sit together in our barbershop and we talk, we also talk about the behavior, how, well, the white woman won't do the white man this way. The Mexican woman won't do the Mexican man that way, right? We say the same things, right? And to talk about industries, right? As you talked about one of my favorite MCs, KRS-One, and most definitely in my top 5, I might add. I always talk about what business is for, what industry is for. It's to make money. It's to make money, right? And so
it's to make money by keeping us enslaved, because other people make money, but they don't enslave themselves like
that's
we
cool. Let me just address it. Let me just address it, sister. right? There was a time where black consciousness was in, right? There was a time where black consciousness was in. You have hieroglyphics, you have KRS-One, you got Kumo D. You took a brother's life with a knife, he died. You know, his verse for self-destruction. You have you have a lot of like conscious rap. It was in for conscious rap, right? Because that's what sold. and there was a lot of negative rap out around that time. There's a lot of negative rap out around that time, but that didn't get the airplay, much as airplay as the conscious rap.
Brother, I'm gonna disagree with you if you understand
Okay,
marketing.
just let me get it out, and then you can disagree. That's fine, right? So, well, let me just get to my point. I'll just get to my point. I'm not the person we could talk to about some theory as to they're going to keep us down by the music we play and they control what goes on. I'm not really into that. What I will say is they play what people want to hear. That's what they do. They play what people want to hear. Now we could talk why we want to hear that, or why that experience is something that we always see, but they're not playing the music that I would say that you're saying is garbage because we don't want to hear it.
Now, so I didn't call anybody's music garbage. If I
No,
did,
you didn't.
that was
No,
that was.
I ain't say
But
that.
let me say this about marketing, brother. Because we have to understand this so we understand how we're being manipulated. Menthol cigarettes are a big thing in the black community. Why is that? They spent a significant amount of money marketing menthol cigarettes. Remember the Ebony, the Jet magazines? Maybe you're too young, but there was
I mean, I
always
do.
an
I am
ad
familiar with it. It's a
about
great book about
it
it.
being cool. You had adverts for menthol cigarettes all over, up and down the black community.
Mm-hmm.
And it became a symbol of, hey, this is what it looks like to be cool and all of that. Hold on. So they cultivated a desire. Same way with Ciroc. Before what's his name? Diddy was doing Ciroc or whatever it is, we weren't paying any attention to it. Then they bring them in, and then all of a sudden black folk are this, and then Hennessy and so on and so forth. They cultivate a desire for something.
Okay.
Like we do with fast food, McDonald's and so on. If they did not cultivate the desire, we wouldn't be wanting it. So when you talk about, oh yeah, conscious rap was in, but now it isn't, you got to do a better job of understanding what that shift was about.
No,
And
I do understand this.
There are label executives who decide what artist is going to be put on, what's going to play on the radios, and what isn't. And when you are a conscious, even now, if you're a conscious singer female and you're not twerking and have your ass out, I don't care how good your voice is or how talented you are not going to get the radio play.
Well,
so we need to understand that what is happening in the black community to a large degree is being orchestrated by the same people who brought us to the shores of this country to begin with. They understand that if we are united, we are strong. And so they've got to break us up and keep us divided. And the music is one of the many ways they do it.
I think we going on. I'm not saying what you're saying is not true. What I'm trying to say is there's always a marketing. It's a great book about what you're talking about Tom Burrell. It's called Brainwashed. It's another book by I think Eric Brunez where you talk about propaganda. It's another, I understand fully what it is that you're saying. But even in today, where record companies are dying, where a large percent of our artists are not necessarily under the guise of record companies. It's been a real rise in independent labels or independent artists. But it doesn't speak to be honest, it doesn't speak to the point that you made where you said they cultivated a concept that we've taken hold to, and now it's injurious in our communities. I get with that. And I don't know if it was right before you before you came on, I said that is where my argument is a great counterpunch to my own argument, that it was a very weak spot, because I'm not talking about that. That's what I'm not talking about, because that's not the average conversation that I'm having with the average black sister. That's why I don't even want to go there, because that ain't the conversation that I'm having with the average black sister. Every point you made, I will not argue against. When we had the sisters on, who was that? Dr. Nikita and
she was there, and
okay, yeah. That was the conversation that I did not want to have. So
why not? Why not though?
Well, because I think when we get into that, right? when we get into these types of conversations, right? It's like you said. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you coming from a place of healing. You coming from a place of reconciliation. You coming from a place of hope and togetherness, right? To get the black family back together, right?
Absolutely. Isn't that what we all should want?
No, I just asked a question, right? I, on the other hand, don't believe that we can reconcile our differences. I don't believe that. Do you understand what I'm saying? And so that's the framework in which I'm coming from.
So, well, if you don't believe it, why are we having this conversation? Because then, yeah, you want us to stay separated.
I think that's an unfair.
I mean, that's what you just said.
No,
what's the reason you don't believe it?
No, what I said, that's not what I said. I didn't say I want us to stay separated.
He said he don't believe it. Can you tell us why you don't believe it?
Why you don't believe?
I just think that there is. I think that the things that my sister is talking about, the cultivation of this the nefarious system that we're talking about, I think has been too traumatic for us to reconciliate.
I don't believe that. I believe it. I believe more so it has to be with being accountable for what we know. Like we were talking about the separatism. You said you didn't see the separatism, but we were arguing that there is separatism where the black man has separated himself, and we gave some examples to that.
Is that again, like we was talking about experience based? I'm not seeing that. But even neither here nor there. It's neither here nor there.
Brother, I am going to tell you that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And
hold on, you said what?
That what we believe,
I can't hear her. I can't hear it.
You said that we are spiritual beings having a human experience.
And what we believe is what we are going to attract and manifest in our lives. Okay. And so if we have black men and women who are saying, oh, the divisions are so great, we understand we've been manipulated into these divisions, but we cannot find our way back to each other, even though every black man came out from the body of a black woman. That's insanity to me. How can we not have a problem hold up. How can we not reconcile? Whoever you go and procreate with, that girl, if you have a girl, is half black. What, you ain't gonna reconcile with her? That is madness. And so as a community,
I'm just not emotional.
Whatever our issues are, we better come together, look each other eyeball to eyeball, because individually we perish. The only way we liberate ourselves is together as a unit.
Okay, like I said, like I'm sorry, I'm not an emotional brother, but I'm not saying what you're saying is correct or it's not. I'm simply saying that I don't believe we can collectively.
I think Aya made a good point when she said that because we gave birth to the black man, how can we not reconcile?
I'm not that guy, sister. You know what I mean? Sorry. You gave birth to us. That's a fact, scientifically.
Right.
That's a fact. But hold on.
And from the last, if I could say, from the last panel, when you guys were made reference to females seeing you as monstrous, and I was telling Lamar that we absolutely love the black man without a shadow of a doubt, because he is somebody that we birthed in this world. We have always been there. We have never left his side, but he seems to run from us. And in fact, when you get into
Yeah.
sports, you run to the white woman from when you get the money. You run away, or you leave your home, you leave your children, you go to jail, and we're there for you. When you fall, we are there for you, and we
Adisa,
will
are
never
you?
leave because
Would
we
No,
you?
gave birth
I'm
to
here,
you.
brother. I'm here. I'm here.
What
Well,
just played out with Jonathan Majors?
Exactly. That's what.
What just played out with Jonathan
When
Majors?
he
Megan Good
fell,
had
a
to go
sister
save
was
his
there.
behind.
What played out was that, I mean, I don't see. I'll say this. I'm glad you brought it up. What played out with Jonathan Majors is exactly what I'm talking about. Is that a black man can't be a victim? That's what played out with Jonathan Majors.
Wait a second,
Now,
what brother? Why you mixing stuff up? Did
no,
you not see? Did you
I'm
not?
not.
Did you
I'm
not?
saying,
Did you
hold
not
on, hold
see
on,
the
hold on, hold
black
on.
woman? Hold up.
Listen to me.
Did you
Listen, I
not
don't.
see the black
This
woman
wasn't
who showed
sideways
up?
until you got on, sister. Listen, it's been cool. I'm not hollering. Everything is cool. So listen to me. I'm not mixing anything up. My point, and I hope the sister can attest to this. My point was in the beginning was that I'm talking about black male victimization. Is that not right?
Right.
right.
Okay, so you brought up Jonathan Majors. So that's to my point. My point is that when we
I get
reference
what you're
our own
saying that he
victimization,
can't be a
or when we
victim. I
reference
do
things that,
understand where you're coming from with that, but that is not on the black woman. That is coming from the
no,
system.
listen. If you remember, I told you I am not attacking black women. Did
Hmm.
I not say that?
Yes,
Right.
you
I didn't
did.
say this was on you.
I I think
But it
I
does
mean
turn. Remember, I said how when we get into these conversations, it does turn to it being about you.
right.
I think it was more so the separatism.
I, I'm, we hold the whole thing. Remember, sister, the whole question was about the separatism.
Right.
When we started talking about it, I just said that I don't
Right.
believe that we can reconcile, but it was
Right.
not putting any fault on anybody. I'm not saying there's no the black man fault. I ain't saying it's the black woman fault. I'm just saying that there's a issue that happened that is so traumatic that I don't believe that we can reconcile. I
So what?
don't believe it.
Okay.
I didn't say it's a.
So so let me ask you, brother Doc.
Mhm.
In that, what do you think is the end result of the black community as we see it? Are we just gonna, somehow assimilate into other cultures? Do we dissipate from the planet by race mixing? What do you think it would actually be the end result of us not being able to reconcile? When you say that, I think there has to be some point that you see as an ending.
Yeah, end
Well,
result to what I'm saying.
yes,
Let me ask you a question first. Just your
yes, sir.
personal opinion before I answer.
Yes, sir.
Do you think there's a black community?
Not anymore.
Okay. So I don't want to. I don't neither. So I want to reference. I don't want to reference a black community. Now, if you asking me what will become of us, that's a real good question. I think what will become of us, like as of right now, my uh sister just married an Asian man, right? And that's an isolated incident, right? But I think we're moving towards interracial couples and different things of that nature. I think that's where we're moving towards.
Wait, you say you don't think there's a black community?
No, I don't. I don't believe that there's
Do
a black
you live in a
community.
black community?
I'm sorry.
Do you live in a black community?
Do I live there? You mean like a black
I
neighborhood?
thought that,
Eh,
like, I'm sorry. I thought that it's been a long time. I've been away from home a long time, but I thought that Detroit was a black community.
No, you have black people that live in the city. There's not a community anymore, and the reason I say that there's not a community anymore is because that there's no unity among us. There's no unifying voice like we used to have. There's no unifying. In fact, anyone and everyone that comes out that seems to work on behalf of the black community, you know who rises up against them harder than anybody? The black community, the so-called black community. Whenever you had any voice of reason that has stood up and gave us just just as we have this sister here, Sister Aya, I guarantee you, as this sister moves and the larger she grows, there would be more voices of disdain coming from black women whom she is working to help tirelessly to help.
Okay, can I
Go
speak
ahead.
to this
Go ahead.
really quickly?
Okay.
Um, After what white people have done and continue to do to us today, if we can find a way to still work with them, to still sleep with them, to still marry them, then I don't see any reason why we can say that the trauma and the issues between us, caused by our colonizers, by our oppressors, is now so insurmountable that we can embrace them, but we can't embrace ourselves. Let me say this: we are each responsible for what is happening in our community. So I can point fingers at what's not happening, but then I got to stand in the mirror and say, what is my contribution to it?
Right.
In my community, I don't know where y'all live, but where I live, we do have a black community. Are we always unified? No. Is that something that I will continue to work on for the rest of my life, no matter how many daggers I may get in my back? Yes, because guess what? The white folk ain't gonna love me either. These are my people, and this is what I'm committed to. So I'm going to continue to build community, no matter what anyone else is doing, with my brothers and sisters, and gather up who I can. When we look at our gains, if you want to call them gains from the civil rights movement, it was not a majority of black people. Most black people were afraid, intimidated, like, hey, listen, I'm just trying to stay in my lane. There were a select few who were like, yes, and we'll go and face the dogs and the water hoses and everything. And we all benefited. So we don't need 100% of the community for us to move forward, but we do need a critical mass. And I'm committed to being part of that critical mass, no matter what anybody else does. And I am committed to loving my black brother, my black sons, my
Mhm.
black father, my black husband,
Yes.
my black nephews. And it's impossible for me to look at them in the eyes and say, our issues are so insurmountable, I reject you. Never happen.
No, I mean, I
Like,
got
that's cool
no,
for you. Like,
no, no, I'm serious. I understand that, but now we have to look at when we say that there's when I speak and I say I don't believe in that believe that there's a black community. I am talking about also speaking to the dismantling of the black family. In fact, when I say that, as Daktari was talking about earlier, was that our women, in gangs when making moves or and their upward mobility seems to move upward and away from black men, and that's what I'm talking about. I think you even in the comment that you sent to me, Marietta, you said that you kind of wanted to get away from us, and it's like for whatever the reasons that you were um, um, that you stated. I'm not saying that they're invalid, but I'm saying that how is it that we can take our bad isolated relationship experiences and say now this is all black men, or we can say as some sisters have put out, abort, if you're having a boy, abort the black boy. How is that? This is coming from the voices and the mouths of black women. This is the internet. Why you could just type it in on YouTube if you if you want to check it out. You can see that there were even platforms that grossly promoted this ideology of aborting black males, as if young black males, as if they were a danger. Man, I can't think of the name of that book, but it was a book I read a while ago where that was the exact idea behind the abortion clinics, was to
mm,
abort black babies. And now we have our own women spewing this. And it's like, well, so when you
Well,
question,
let me just
let me just finish this.
explain where I was.
Just give me a
Okay, go
second.
ahead.
Just let me finish this, because I'm not attacking you. Trust me, I'm not.
No, I
But
know you're not.
I'm not attacking. But I'm saying when you have our own women spewing this, and I know we talked about and we talked about the hip hop and things like that. But the thing is, as Dr. was hitting on the point earlier, we never, when they call black women welfare queens, black men didn't be fuck that. We don't care. You know what I'm saying? Even though she put us out the house, nigga, we don't care. That's my woman. You know what I'm saying? Guess what? When they said that the black woman,
What?
they said, give me a minute. When they said that black women was carrying the most AIDS, guess what? We had more children with you. We were when they said that black women were carrying the highest carriers of AIDS, we had more children with you because we never, ever, ever stepped away from our black woman. But even in our successes, yes, you got some brothers that went out there and got with white women. Yes, I listen. I see it. I can't stand it to this day. But I'm gonna tell you right now. The thing is that you have brothers that are now we're coming back. We're back home. We're home. There are some of us that ain't never left. I
Because they got in trouble.
no, it ain't because they got in trouble.
When they get in
You know
trouble
what,
with the law, then they go find their sister, just like Jonathan Majors.
No,
yeah, brother, I need to correct you on something though, because
please.
this
Okay.
is a fallacy that is out in our community.
Okay.
You just said, and this is the miscommunication that is creating problems between black men and women. You
Okay.
just said when the black woman puts the black man out of the house and accepted welfare. That is so unfair because she did not create the system.
No,
Thank you,
no.
But
Listen,
Aya.
hold on,
listen.
No, I hate when we do
hold
No,
this,
on,
no,
man.
we
hold on,
can't.
let
No,
me
no,
It
finish.
doesn't matter. Why are we talking about
No,
this?
no, no,
It
no, no.
don't
You have
matter.
no, no, no,
like,
no.
You
You have
created the
you have
system,
no, no, no,
you
no, no,
cooked
no.
the damn
You
system,
have to be
and it became weaponized
no.
against us. We're not saying that you didn't have
You
any
must
type of
pay attention to
psychological
the hand
repression,
that is
that we're not speaking of a
manipulating you,
point to where black women did need help. We're not saying that you just meant to do this
brother.
because you didn't like black
Brother,
men. We're not
you
saying that.
said specifically that the black
yes,
woman puts the
No,
black
I didn't
yes.
say
man
it.
No,
out of the
I said it.
house.
I said.
I
No,
didn't
That's
say
what.
that,
Okay.
sister.
hold on.
What I'm
Mr.
saying
Howard.
is that
But that's
kind
the
of
end result of what
Hold up, brother.
happened.
Hold up.
that
Let
kind of language
Oh,
that
let
kind
us
of language confuse. So here's the bottom line. Seriously on this. If you say there's no way to reconcile, then there's no need to continue
no,
to have a conversation.
no. Wait a
Then
minute.
I
we're
didn't say.
just
Hey,
I
then
said that. Adisa didn't say that, sister.
we're just putting out saliva. But if
no.
we
Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
want to if we
hold on,
want
hold
to
on.
Aya.
reconcile, then we
No,
talk
I
about the
said that.
Hold
pathways
on.
to
Adisa,
that.
Relax.
I said that.
Say,
Adisa
let
didn't
me
say that.
let me. This is Lamar Adisa. Okay, listen here. Here's what I'm saying, sister. When I said that, when I said what I said about putting us out the home, right? When I said that, what I also said, we didn't care. Even though they said the black woman was the welfare queen and all these things, I said we didn't care whether the system was taken. Whether the system was created by the white man or not, the deal was still made, and we could
That's all
say,
we
well,
said.
you took the white man's the slave master's whip as a lifeline. We could say that, but we're saying even in that, we never turned our backs on you. We never went out and said, the things that are being said, abort black girls, don't marry black women. We didn't say that. In fact, what we did,
And
we
hold
said,
on,
God
Lamar,
damn,
we didn't
what we
blame
need to
you
do, we
for it.
need to improve. That's what we said.
We're
We
not
said that.
blaming you for it.
We're not
We're
blaming
just
you.
saying
We're
the end
saying
result.
it was a result of what happened. We're not saying that you were that we fought you for, because we understood. In fact, I understand. I understood. I saw my mother struggle, so I understood the need for welfare. Did I have a did it cause my father to be put out the home? No, it didn't. My father had his own issues. Okay, so no, we're not saying that. We're saying even in that event, we don't care. We're not separating ourselves from you. This is what we're talking about. This is why the brother's saying is irreconcilable, because guess what?
Yeah.
You're not even paying attention, honestly, to what we're saying. You hear something and you're triggered and your emotions go off and you explode on us. And we say, wait a minute, hold on. You give us a minute. Just take a breath and hear everything that I'm saying and see why it bothers. That's all we're saying. See why it
brother,
hurt us.
brother, brother, what you just did is called projection. Because actually, you're the one triggered. And you're the one who is saying we can't reconcile. And I'm saying there's a need to
No,
go
I
figure
said
out what
that.
that
I
You
said
person
said
that.
that.
is
I'm not.
and
I
to
never
see,
said
I
we
yeah,
can
said
yeah,
that.
yeah.
reconcile.
I'm just listen, listen. I'm talking about what has transpired in the course of this conversation and in
Okay.
other conversations on this podcast. If
Hmm.
you have had a negative relationship and negative experience with a black woman, it is up to you to go and do that healing work. Just as if I
Oh,
have had a negative
See what I'm
experience
saying,
with a
Lamar?
black man, it
yeah.
is up to me to go do that healing work. When
Hmm.
we come from a perspective of, I don't think we can reconcile, then it makes almost everything else we're saying
Okay,
moot,
let
because
me speak.
the basic issue is you cannot solve a problem you're not willing to figure out how you got to that problem to begin with. So when you say, oh, it doesn't matter who the system is or no, it does
Maybe,
matter, because we
but
have to
maybe I
understand how
did
we
try to
got to
solve the
where we
problem, and the
are.
answer I came up with was that it was irreconcilable.
So
Now,
Or maybe.
hold
so
on.
if you think it's
Let me say this.
irreconcilable, then let's
Hold on.
stop having the
Hold on.
conversation.
Hold on. You talking? Let's share a little bit. I'm in a relationship now with a black woman that I am in love with. In love with. I love her. I'm willing to protect her. I adore her. She loves me. She's willing to protect me. She adores me. She basks in her femininity, and I bask in my masculinity, right? What I what I'm saying is I don't know if that's a thing that if that's something that will be a collective experience for our people. That's what I'm saying. So to say that since I have this perspective, and I'm not putting words into my sister's mouth, to say I have this perspective that I haven't tried to figure this thing out or whatever. I think that's a little disingenuous. That's not what happened.
Right.
That's not what happened at all.
And
Not at all.
and
Maybe
go ahead, bro.
in looking at it and investigating it and trying to solve it, maybe the answer I came up with, and I could be wrong. I say I could be wrong. It's my opinion. Maybe that answer is that we just can't reconcile. But to say that I haven't tried or to say that I haven't, that's disingenuous. That ain't true.
Right. No. And when I said whether the white man created the system or not, all I was saying, sister, was this: that in the process of however it landed on our heads, what happened happened. And
Right.
I'm saying that black men never, we never turned our backs on it. You know what I'm saying? And that's what I'm saying. You all look at, OJ
But I am
and
saying
make.
that you guys keep twisting your words and are factually incorrect. When you say black men never turn their black backs on black women, that is a lie.
Yes,
Just like if
incorrect.
I say black women
Man,
have never turned their backs on, that is a lie. You can't say never. That is
when
simply not true. And then,
when did you?
and
Where can
hold
doctor?
up, and to your
I
issue
just
of
want to know where we can find that
hold up,
empirically.
let
Yeah.
me finish. And to your
I'm
issue
sorry.
of irreconcilable, I'm
Mm,
quoting what you said.
Yeah,
Okay.
Now
yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying, oh, you're telling me that I didn't work to make it. No, no, no. I'm saying what you shared out of your own mouth was
Uh-huh.
it was
Yeah,
irreconcilable. I didn't
right.
make a judgment on. I'm quoting on what you said. So don't turn around now and say, well, that isn't
Oh
not
no,
what I said.
I'm not eating my
Bottom
words.
line
I said
is,
you said you
oh
spoke to
Lord.
something about whether or not somebody was trying to do the work or something that I was speaking to that. I ain't swallowing my words for nobody. I said what I said. I
Right.
ain't tangling my words up with nobody.
And I want to know just in what point in history, please, and
Yeah,
everyone,
empirically. Like where point us
where
to
where is it that black men turned their backs on our women? Where did we
not
turn our?
like where what source
Yes,
can we go to?
Well,
right. Because I
you
need to
you
find.
you don't have. That's not rocket scientist
There we
science.
go.
You know that statistically, black men have left the homes by the dozens. That's
Adisa.
we already know that.
Okay, so you're saying because a black man break up with you,
No,
not
it's not break up.
no
I'm
no no.
saying that we know, and I'm not pointing anybody out because we all know we live. Hey, we lived in Detroit. We know that Black men left the homes and were not accountable for their children or
Oh,
providing
yeah.
for their home. We know that.
We know some, but okay.
We,
Let me say this.
but
Let
okay,
me say this.
some means that it still
Hold on.
exists.
Yeah.
Oh,
We
that's
know.
what. Okay, we playing cement. Okay.
Hold on, but here's the
Okay.
thing. Here's the thing. Let's put it like this. I know, and I'm going back to Philip. Okay,
Mhm.
I'm going back to Philip. Um, and I'm gonna ask you: was your father around?
No, he was in Detroit, yeah, but he was not being a father to me.
So he wasn't a father. So you know who? You know how many people had stepfathers that came in? You know how many people that had the
I
fathers?
had a
Even though
stepfather, Lamar. Do you remember? Do you remember I had a stepfather?
I thought that was your father. I didn't know it was your stepfather.
No, no, no. That was not my father. That was my stepfather. And yes, he came in and he brought trauma into my home.
I got you. I got you. So I know of fathers when I look up and down Philip, I can name
Oh,
about three people who didn't have their fathers in the home, but I can also that didn't have a man in the house. I would say a man in the house.
whether they had a man, okay, we could say a body was there, a man body
No,
was
I
there,
mean,
but
listen,
we
but
know
who are
that
we to? Okay, so we can't
there was
determine.
not a man at my house. There was
Okay,
not a man at my house. There was not a man at Daryl's house. There was
yes, it
not a
was.
man at
Yes,
Trina's
it was.
house.
Yes, it
There
was.
was
It
no.
was.
He was not a man. He was beating their mother and coming and
Ooh,
sleeping with whoever.
Yeah. There you go.
well, now we
Wait,
can't we
wait.
can't do that. We
Bottom
wait a minute.
line,
Wait a minute.
bottom line is when you say black men have never turned their backs on black women,
Yeah. Because we
just
can't.
absolutely not factual. Period.
Huh? You say okay. I mean, but you got to tell us where did we turn our backs on you? Where we
I just gave an
because
example.
no, I'm just saying
Empirically.
you talking about that's but that isn't actual fact for everyone. We're gonna
It's
have some
not
of
for
those.
everyone, but
We're
it
gonna have
does
some.
Nobody
exist,
said
and you have to.
nobody said it was for everyone, but your words were black men have
Black men,
never.
we have
And that
never
was
turned
my
our
point.
back.
Is that you cannot
Collectively,
use an
black men have
absolute
not
because the
turned their backs on
absolutes
black
will
women.
not work.
Collectively, black men have
You
never
used an
turned their backs on black women.
absolute. I am
I will
not
use
saying
as an
black
absolute.
men have not been present, but your thesis was
Yeah,
black men have never turned their
yeah, we're
backs on
gonna get
black
into
women,
this now.
So
and
are you?
that is not
About
factual.
And I'm speaking in
general
a collective sense.
or average men.
So
Well,
are
that's
you
what we're
saying
gonna do.
that collectively black men because we can say oh well that'll be easy because we can start naming deadbeat mothers and black women who did this, but I'm saying
No,
who
the key word, Lamar, is
collectively
never. Never. You said
I,
and
I,
never.
I'm
but,
speaking
but he
collectively.
spent of a
Where is
collective
of a
experience.
collective experience? Where have you known in history that black men have disassociated themselves from black women? That's what I'm talking about. You keep coming up with
We're
these,
not
and this
saying
is
that
it
ain't no
of
man ever
relationship
did it.
stuff individually, where you have relationships where fathers leave mothers or mothers leave fathers or mothers do things that children aren't privy to, and the father leaves the house because the thing is automatically we want to say that it's the dad that did this or that the man that did this. You know what I'm saying? Whether we know it or not, whatever the information is there, it still never shows that collectively as a whole that black men have turned their backs on black women.
You
We
know
have
what?
not,
I,
not
I
collect.
don't even know where we're going with this conversation, to be
No,
honest with you, because if that is your argument, where can you show that black women collectively, all black women came together and abandoned black men? The
no,
argument
that,
holds no water, and this is not
listen,
helpful to us. Because
but we
right
can
now it
show.
seems like you are
Let me respond.
dead beat, you're dead set on black men being the victims of black women. That is not
I
helpful
told
to
you.
our community.
But
You
see,
are trying to prove a
here's
point that black men have never collectively abandoned black women, but on the flip side, you want to make the point that black women have collectively abandoned black men? You all want us to heal or you all
I
want us to argue?
I
What
don't
is
even
it?
think. Okay.
Yeah, it's
I
kind of
I
weird.
don't because the thing is, I said, and if we go back to where it started, this started from me saying, black men, we have never cared, and I was speaking about the air today about women saying abort black boys. And I said, even in all that, you have never heard after, even when welfare came and black women put us out the home, we never cared because we never stopped loving you, is what I'm saying. There was never a hateful a time in history where you had such hate that was spewed as what I was saying, what was being put out on the internet about black women saying abort black boys. Okay?
Where
This,
clarify that. Clarify where black women put you out the home when welfare came.
so we don't have you don't so we're gonna act like it never existed where black women were told or persuaded to put black men out the home in order to get housing and welfare and food.
You said they were told that they had to, that this person could, that if the father is not doing his part, then it's just them and the children. They were told that. So that wasn't her decision.
Listen, hold on, wait a minute. You said if the father's not doing this
Right.
part, right? So here's what I'm gonna ask you. The same system that came and gave you the deal, is that not the same system that was in place keeping black men back?
It was the system. That's the point. It was the system,
So listen,
not black
so listen,
women. They
listen
were
to me.
trying to survive for
I didn't
their
say
children.
I, but I'm saying what I'm saying is that even in such,
Hmm.
we still black women took that, and black men we never turned our backs
Yes, they did.
on
They
you.
chose their children over them, over the man.
And
Yes,
I
they did.
said, and I'm saying that even in that, black men never turned their backs on you. I never said, and I said, now you have an air where they're saying abort black boys, and I'm telling you all that black men, there has never been a time where where hatred was spewed from black men about not loving black women. You never heard that. In fact, I will tell you a song that is from 19, I will give you some lyrics that I remember from when I was 12 years old, 1988. Okay?
Mhm.
This is one of my this is probably my favorite song. And it's a lyric, it's called Revolutionary Generation. And this shit has stuck with me. So when I'm speaking about what I'm speaking about, it's because the thing is that uh, what I learned and the way I love black women is not something that has just happened. And when I'm talking to you, and I'm gonna give you the lyrics in a minute because I know them right off the top of the dome. Okay. But the way I saw my mother speak about my father, even though my father had his issues, and he wasn't a perfect man. He wasn't a perfect man. She wasn't a perfect woman. She wasn't a peaceful woman to get along with. But I guess somebody will say, then, well, your father made it that way. Okay. Yeah, okay. But the thing was, my father never, and my father died when I was 26 years old. In those 26 years, I never heard my father say a negative word about my mother. But I heard my mother, my auntie, any other woman that was around speak negatively about my father, right? And I know that is a collective experience in the black community. Now, I'm not saying that the fathers, that everybody's father didn't say, was like my father, but my father would never speak a damaging word about my mother, not to his children, but she did to us. In fact, she's used it so much that she said, you act just like your daddy. That's what I heard. And knowing I couldn't stand a nigga. And guess what? And if you go back and you look on the reconnect, you'll see where my son felt the same way about me, about his mother driving that rift between me and him. But my love for the black woman has been so strong and so consistent that I learned it and I memorized these lyrics because I needed that as something always, even when it wasn't looking so up for me. Chuck D said they disrespected mama and treated her like dirt. America took her, reshaped her, raped her. No one never made the papers. They beat us, made us attack our woman than black. So I said, sophisticated don't be what we got to heed the warning, crack a dawner, or is it the dawn of crack? And that's what Chuck D said, and it stuck with me. Why? Because the thing is, I was able to see my mother's pain in those lyrics. I was able to see other mothers' pains in those lyrics. And the song is such a beautiful song. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I think that we get so caught up in wanting to in wanting to feel attacked. I didn't attack nobody. I said, even though this happened, we never turned our backs. That was me still pledging our love for black women in the midst of all the shit that went on and the things that were always said. But soon as, like I said, some upward mobility, it seemed like she moved up in the way. So you tell me where I'm wrong, and these are your words. I
Brother,
can read
you
to
are
you.
so selective in your analysis. It is mind-boggling. You don't see where black men with upward mobility have also abandoned black women.
I
You
said
don't
that
see where,
earlier.
hold on.
I
You
said
don't
with
see
black
where
men,
black women, hold on, because you
okay, I said
talked.
that.
You don't, hold on. You don't see where black women have also sang love songs to black men.
I
You
didn't.
are so
But I'm speaking.
selective
Hold on,
in
wait a
your
minute. Listen,
analysis.
if I'm speaking from, I'm a man. I don't give a damn about the love song. I can't speak to that because I love women. I'm speaking only from a man's perspective. I'm speaking only from a son's perspective. I
What does
can't
that
speak
have to
for
do
more.
with what I just said?
What you
What I
just
am
said was
saying, what
about
I'm
the woman,
saying
the
to
song of
you,
black
what I'm
women. You
saying
saying
to
songs of
you
black women.
is
When you
that
talk
first
about
of
black
all,
men moving up in the way, yes, we've seen that. We've seen some of that. But the thing is that when you seen that, you still seen brothers come in and check that. And that's the thing that see when we're being selective, we have to really talk about it because how many times have we seen brothers and Daktari, please tell me how many times have we seen brothers come in and check? There are songs that where black men are checking these brothers doing those same things. And, in fact, let's talk about Ice Cube song
and
"White Cave
and
Bitch."
and you and you haven't seen black women do the same thing.
I'm listen. I'm not saying they didn't,
You
but
have
I'm
not,
telling you to mine.
you're talking about black women and mobility, but refusing to acknowledge black men and mobility. You're talking about,
That
oh,
was
on
my
the internet there have been some comments that were supposedly about black women being derogatory towards black men. Have you not heard black men be derogatory towards what black women? Bottom line, brother, is we can hold on to our pain or we can
mm-hmm.
choose to heal. I really
Yeah,
don't know where else we're going with this conversation
me
because we can
neither.
rehash and rehash and rehash.
Yeah,
Black
No,
women can come on here for the
and it's
yeah.
next millennium
and
talking
I
about
tell
how
you,
they've been
We
abused
gonna
by
end up
black
talking
men,
about what I
or
said
we
we was
can
gonna
try
talk
to
about. I
heal.
told you.
I see. Here's the thing. Here's the thing, sister. I think that what you want to do is that you want to find a problem with what I'm saying. I'm not saying that. I'm asking why is it
I
now?
think that we
Now
can
we're
agree
in the
to
time of
disagree
social
with that
media.
statement.
I'm saying in the time of social media, where it's so broad and far reaching. That's all I'm saying. Is that it is something that is like a cancerous thing. Now, even with brothers who there are some brothers that say negative things about black women. But I'm saying there's still a great segment, a larger segment of black men that's like, man, shut the fuck up. Marietta, your words, and you wanted to clarify your statement earlier. What did you mean by that, please, sister?
When you spoke to, I'm trying to think back. When you spoke to about me saying that about the black, feeling was it abandoned or I
Mm,
think I'm trying to remember what because
No,
it's
no,
long gone now.
no. I mean, if because and I don't want you to think I'm reading these words to try to attack you. I was
No,
I
no, no,
was
no,
just saying
no, no, no.
what you were saying in regards to um, um, black women moving away from black men. It says you said where is it?
Why we
But when
moved
they got
away?
the money, for example, sports they ran the white women, the very people that tore us apart, they left us with their children and paraded the streets with women, went to prison and begged us to stand by them, and we did. They blamed us for the system turning on them and beat us, caused chaos in our homes. So when we find empowerment, we tell them that they are now welcome because we must protect ourselves and children from them. Um, Black men, you put in parentheticals, we love them, though, and support them more than anybody else. And when they fall, we are there to catch them. And you use making good because we birthed them. Now,
Right.
I wasn't using what you said.
No, you asked me. You asked me did I want to clarify
Yeah.
what I meant what I was saying. And yes, I was saying that because one of the things is that we know that there's a large amount of Black men that are in, like, for instance, incarcerated.
Mhm.
However, they got there. And when they come out, they have these things that they need to deal with. And they go right back into these families and into these homes. And this is just an example of one. And they do cause chaos in these homes and things like that. And they do may be abusive and things like that. And
Mhm.
women, when you gotten yourself together and like, now we're able to work and glass ceiling positions up there somewhere in upper management, we don't want to deal with that. So we do say no. We do say no. I don't want you around because I don't want my son to become like this, and I don't want to have to deal with that.
So you're talking about the man that's been to prison, or
That's an example, but I gave a few examples in that, and I'm saying that women don't. When we become empowered, it's men always say that, oh, a woman can say I can take care of myself. What's the reason behind that? Where she says I can't I can take care of myself. We don't want to do it by ourselves, but we will, instead of dealing with all of that abuse and chaos and mental illness. Both of us have, men and women have mental illness, but that's an example that I'm giving.
Mhm.
We will do it on our own when we're empowered because we don't want to deal with those types of things. So we will say no to the Black man. I don't need you at this point because I'm not going to deal with that.
Mm, okay. So, um, I don't even want to ask a question because I want to make it seem like I'm attacking anyone or being.
No, it's an example of
Huh?
situations that people go through, and that's why I said I gave you a few about the sports thing. You see, we have a lot of Black women in sports. How often do you see them run to the white man when they make it in sports? They're always with their kings.
I don't know. I'm not them Serena.
Majority. We ain't
Not them
talking
Williams sisters.
about now today. Yeah, they want something different. But I'm just saying, you've seen Black men do that more than Black women.
I mean,
We
because
tend to stick with the Black man.
well, I would say, and the reason I would say this is because you had the sports arena has been dominated by Black men for a long time, and you have seen some of the more prominent stars, but you don't see all of the players that are who have relationships with the relationships that they have. I saw that they have shown purposely. I believe they have shown um, black um, black some of the black stars with white women, but you also have um, great stars like Muhammad Ali, um, Michael Jordan at the beginning, Walter Payton, dudes, and I'm talking about dudes that I grew up, watching. They all had black families, and um, they all had black families and black women, you know, um, in their
Wait,
lives. And
wait a second, brother. Did you just quote Muhammad Ali and Michael Jordan? You know how much
mm,
pain Muhammad Ali caused his multiple wives? Do you
I,
know? Do you know
I
that
said,
Michael Jordan took his billions and went and got him a non-black wife? Come on now, brother.
you didn't hear what I said. You didn't hear what I said, sister. I said,
I did hear what you said. You're saying that they usually trot out certain ones of them in front of us. But I'm telling
uh,
you that the same
no,
consideration you're giving black men, it would be nice if you would give it to black women as well. Because
I
when it
swear to
comes to
you,
us, you make it an absolute, and then for the men, you try
no.
to massage it and
I
find an excuse
No,
for it.
no, no. I didn't say that. I didn't make an excuse. I said that you saw black we talked about black men running to white women. And I said you saw like some of my heroes, you know what I'm saying? And I said Muhammad Ali had black women, black wives. Walter Payton. I said Michael Jordan at the beginning had a black woman. That's what I said at the beginning. He started off with a black woman. I didn't say, whatever,
Are we
relationship.
saying that? Because I don't know this. I'm asking.
Mhm.
Do the majority of African American male pro athletes, are we saying that they have uh, taken other ethnicities as their wife. Is that what we're saying?
We're not saying that
No,
there's the majority, but we're stating facts to what you all are saying. Collectively, the black man has not left his black woman, but there are a lot of statistics there where he has, and that's just one of the areas.
So we saying because we saying just I'm not arguing for or against. We're using as an example black men dating other ethnicities as it relates to leaving a black woman.
Right, we're
Okay.
saying that.
All right.
You grew up, listen, we're saying that you grew up with us, right? And you was
mhm.
poor out there with us, but when you got the money, where did you go? Away from the sister.
Okay. That's how you take. Okay. Cool.
And we are saying that in response to your contention that black women, once they get upwardly mobile, leave the black man. And
Say that
my
again,
point
doctor.
is,
I can't.
No,
my
no.
I can't hear her.
Okay, go ahead, go ahead.
Doctor, can you say that again?
can you hear me now?
Yes,
Mhm.
ma'am.
Okay, what I said is, one of you started off with
Mm.
black women, once they get upwardly mobile, they're leaving the black man. And my point was, the same way that you can critique and look at black women on certain issues, you can critique and look at black men the same way. And the example of the black men, celebrities and football players and so on, ballers who are marrying white women.
Dang, she cut. Can y'all? I can't hear her.
Yeah, she cut out.
Oh, y'all. I thought it was just me.
No, she cut out.
She, yeah, she
Sister
froze
Aya.
on me.
I don't want to respond. I want to hear.
Yeah.
Never abandon the black woman.
Well, wait a
That
minute.
is
We
not
didn't
No,
hear
true.
We
you.
didn't hear you. You cut out terribly.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
yeah, we can hear you.
I'm tired of making the same point, but I'll try one more time.
Thank you.
So you all had made the argument that the black woman, once she becomes upwardly mobile, leaves the black man and goes to the white man.
That wasn't my.
You had also contended that black men have never abandoned or left the black woman behind.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
the example of the black men who are in the public eye who have chosen white women over black women was given to illustrate the fact that your information is not correct, and
Okay.
that the same way you can look at black women and say, oh, you abandoned black men, you can say the same thing for black men. And all I'm saying is, all of these arguments cut both ways,
Mhm.
and we can keep arguing them, or again, we can figure out ways to come together.
My assertion is that I can agree that some of the arguments cut both ways. I just think that, in my personal experience, again, which doesn't mean that it's true, uh, the dialogue about what is happening to black men is not necessarily uh, kind of discussed. That narrative ain't really uh, hollering out. That's not really what we discussing. That's on that point. And the example that
Can,
was
can you
used.
can you explain that? Because I didn't understand what you were saying.
I'm saying, thank you. Okay, I'm saying that in my experience, because you probably can let me know of some places as to where there is happening. So I'm saying this might be true. It could be, but I haven't heard um a sounding board, if you will, for the plight of black men from black women. I'm not saying it hasn't happened. I'm saying I
Brother,
haven't
are
heard.
you kidding me right now? Have you heard
I
of a
just
woman called, hold on, have you heard of a woman called Ida B. Wells?
yes, I've
Do
heard of
you
that.
know that her whole book, The Red Record, was
Yep.
about
Yes.
fighting against the lynching of black men?
Right.
I'm
Yes, it
just
was.
gonna
Yeah,
start
yeah,
there.
yes, it was. But I'm very familiar with Ida B. Wells' work. But I'm speaking contextually as it relates to the things that we face that separated us in terms of the gender wars. Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, well, then maybe you should read Shashi McIntyre's book. Maybe
Give me
you
the
should
type. Text. Give me
read
text it in the thing.
Glenora Hudson, who talks about Africana womanism and talks about our need and our desire to work with our men My
Doctor, plug the
brother,
book.
there
That's what
are
I'm saying.
so many books
You
that
keep
Black
saying
women have
I'm not.
written on this.
Listen, man, because it's hollering at me. You know what I'm saying? Listen, I'm not saying it ain't. You hear me being very soft in my speak. I'm telling you. I said from my experience, and I said if you can offer something, do so. Put it in the chat so I can look it up. I'm not.
But let
This is
me say
crazy.
this,
Hold on,
please.
and I
Let me
want to
say
talk
this.
about the
Go ahead.
other point. The other point is the example that was used. Uh, the black athletes is what we were talking about.
Mhm.
Leaving once the black athlete gets successful, he's leaving the black woman for white women, right?
Mhm.
Is that something that's happening on a large basis? Like, is it a majority of men doing that? That's what I'm asking. That's all I'm asking.
We have seen it happen in a time period. Now I can't say speak to now, but we have seen it in a time period happen in a large number. However, I wasn't trying to make a point that that was the whole of every that was
No,
part that
I'm
would
not
make
being. I'm not trying to
collectively.
hold you to that, sister. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
No. Let me,
in that example, so you wasn't saying that there's the majority of the African American athlete leaving black women to. That wasn't what you were saying.
No, what
Okay,
I was
thank you.
saying was that that accounts for never. Um, when Lamar said
Yeah, yeah.
never,
And
that
that's what I
speaks to
think.
that.
We
well,
playing semantics a little bit. It kind of
well,
went before a doctor came on. Remember, we was discussing. We were saying how when back in the days when women were saying, you know, black men ain't shit. We know
right.
y'all wasn't talking about. That's
You
kind of
don't,
what I'm talking about. When
and that's what I'm talking about when
we
I
talking
say,
about that, that's kind of what we saying.
my kids
That's
don't need
all.
a daddy. I can raise them on my own.
No, no,
And
no.
that's
I'm
what
just
I'm
saying
saying.
that word. I'm not saying if you say that black men haven't collectively left the black woman, that's a difference than never.
But
Never.
if you speaking
No.
collectively, but if we got to say it like that, it
What
doesn't
I'm
matter.
saying, hold on,
I'm
hold
with
that.
that.
Look.
That's fair. I'll
Let
take
me,
that.
yeah, yeah.
I'll
Let's do
take
this.
that.
Let's do this. But what I'm saying, but see, I think everybody is looking at it on the relationship, like the surface level. I'm talking about the deeper, broader level. There has been more times than not that black men have said, you know what, bump this shit. We don't care what nobody said about a woman, welfare queen, this, welfare, whatever it is. All I was saying was that we love our women. When I say moving upward mobility and away, I didn't say that she was dating anybody. I didn't talk about who she was marrying. I never mentioned her marrying anybody. I was saying simply about distancing herself from black men. That don't mean that she's out here well, I'm not talking about dating anybody or dating a white man or anything like that. I'm saying distancing herself, almost as if she's becoming a separate race. And that's what I was meaning. When no one, everyone wanted to jump on the bandwagon, not I'm gonna say bandwagon, but jump on this damn what they call that thing. What's that? The thing when it goes downhill is like the snowball and turn into a damn avalanche or down this avalanche of shit of black men saying or that I'm saying some shit like black men don't date other women. No, I didn't say that. I'm not even talking about dating anybody. I
Okay,
said
forget the dating. But why do
up
you
and
think she's
away.
doing that? Why do you think that she's doing that?
You say, why do I think she's doing what? Moving
The
away
upward mobility.
and
You
then moving
said
away?
she's moving away and creating her own race. Why do you think she's doing that?
I would, if y'all would have let me finish my statement, I was going to ask y'all, why do y'all think that is happening? That's all I was trying to do is get to the point of why it's happening.
Even
And
though
I was
you don't
making,
want to
and I was
hear the
making.
term, even though you don't want to hear the term relationship,
Oh,
even if you're not in an intimate relationship, everything stems back to some type of relationship.
Yeah,
And I
okay.
gave you a few examples of those relationships as to why she will say that I don't want to do this anymore, because those relationships have been severed with abandonment,
right.
for one
But
of them,
but we're getting
abuse, you know,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Those are the reasons why she severs the ties and says, well, I'm just going to do this on my own. Not that she wants to, because she's
No.
always proven that she wants you there, but
But are you
sometimes
saying, sister, are you saying that she severed the tie?
I'm saying that she's willing to sever the
Oh, but you
tie.
saying she
He
didn't?
said up. He said, "Why does it seem like she's creating her own race in upward mobility?" And I'm saying the reason I gave him some examples, and it still has to do with relationships, even if it's not intimate. It still has to, even with a woman dealing with her father, it still has to do with some form of relationship
Yes.
that
Okay.
was
I'm glad you
severed.
said that.
I get you. I
I'm glad you
understand.
said that.
I understand that. I totally understand that.
Can I ask the doctor a question?
Sister Aya, is she still here?
I'm here. I'm not sure what question you want to ask because I'm not sure where else this conversation is going. But go ahead.
I just I just wanted to put the books you were saying. I wanted to take a look at them. That's all.
If you could text the brother the books.
Yeah, I just
But
she could say it. I got a pen right here. I'm willing.
I think that when we're having this conversation, what brothers are trying to do, this brother and myself, and even other brothers, instead of trying to theorize and guess and philosophize about why sisters are doing the things that they're doing, we're trying to ask you honestly just to get an understanding. I don't I think in trying to seek understanding, we have to lay out the the terms in which we have come to, um, in the terms in which we have learned or dealt with, to ask these questions. I don't think that it is anything wrong with saying what we see, how we see them, how we see it, especially if you're trying to, because even at this podcast, the podcast is called The Reconnect. Now, sisters like you all that we have on here, we know that there's an intelligence, that there's a regalness, that there's a that you all have this education, and so we're coming to you to ask you, as a representation of your other sisters, just as we are trying to be representation of our brothers, just to find out. Because see, if you give us the information, then we can relay it, and if we give you the information, you can relay it. Because the thing is, we're trying this. It is called the reconnect. That's why I was saying what I was saying about us not doing these things, because I wanted you to understand that yes, we love you, but you said, Marietta, you and Sister Aya, you all have expressed your love for black men, but we're saying, okay, well, let's find out what's going on with your sisters behind you. In fact, I will use my brother's term, the sisters that's on the outside, because we need to go back and talk to the brothers that's on the outside. So where you all feel like we're trying to come down, or make a point about black women being negative, or whatever y'all picked up from what I was saying,
I
which
didn't
isn't what
feel
I'm
like it
saying.
was negative.
No, I
I didn't
said,
feel like it was a negative
I
impact. I
don't even
just
think I
felt
said
like
anything negative. I said one thing about black women. I said they called you welfare queens. I said we didn't believe that shit, even though
no,
you put
I
it in
didn't
the
feel like
house.
that was negative. I thought that was a misinterpretation of saying that we were the ones who made the men go away. That's what I
No,
thought.
no, 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 no. I was saying with the welfare, and I say even though we were put out the house, I think my brother laughed because he understood what I was saying. That that there was, like they said, they gave you welfare, and we didn't fault you for it. We didn't fault you. We never even said anything bad about it. We were just saying, hey, this is what happened. But we still love you, but we have never collectively we have, and I'm saying we have never bought into the idea that our black woman wasn't good for us. I don't believe that at all. So please, if somebody finds something where you can say that black men feel like black women wasn't good for them in a collective sense, not some dumbass author writing some bullshit or some dumbass Facebook post. I'm talking about collectively. We haven't loved our sisters. That's all I'm saying. So I'm just asking the question, and I was looking for you all to relay an answer, not get upset with me, which I can understand. It could push some buttons, but I wasn't trying to.
Brother, can I just say this in response?
Go ahead.
When it comes to what have black men done to black women, you bring up collectively. When it comes
Mhm.
to what have black women, quote unquote, done to black men, then it's okay to pull up individual experiences. And that's what I'm saying. That this,
No, wait a minute.
the conversation
When
is
did I say
somewhat
something individual about
it
what a
is
black woman done?
somewhat disingenuous, because when you just like you qualified what have black men collectively done, then it's like, oh, are you saying a majority of black men are choosing white women? Well, you didn't qualify that when you said that white black women, when they become upwardly mobile, are breaking away or whatever. So all I'm saying is, if we want to really have
But
this
I'm speaking
conversation and come
about a
to
sentiment.
solutions,
I
we
well,
need to use the same
I'm speaking
analysis for
about a
both.
I'm speaking about a sentiment of divesting from black men. That's all I'm speaking about. And I'm
and
saying
and and I'm saying that black women could argue that there is a sentiment of black men divesting from black women, but that
and
doesn't
that's
help us.
fine. And that's fine. But the thing is, we still need to know from you guys what it is. That's all it is. What it is that you're seeing. That's in the black woman's heart that's causing this. And you can ask the same question. Here, let me say this. The reason I can't say uh, uh, um the reason I can say collectively for black men, because that's all I deal with when I'm saying, like, in the sense of business, in the sense of hanging out, friendship, you know what I'm saying? Sports, that's all I deal with. So I've never heard, that's why I'm able to say that. But I can't say, and I say black women, I'm not saying individually or anything. I'm saying, what is it with black women that's doing this? You can say, well, it's not all black women, fine. But I'm saying from us, what we see is that we hearing black women say this. We're seeing in the comments of posts, black women saying divested from what you call. I'm not saying that black divested from black men. I'm not saying it's a whole that black women as a whole are doing that. No, I'm only asking why is it that, and I'm speaking again in general terms for black women who are here with us, specifically you two, that can answer this. That's all. What is it
And
that
I
you're
said severed
saying?
relationships.
Hmm?
And I said severed relationships. Even if it's
Okay,
stemming
I
from
didn't dispute
childhood.
that. I didn't dispute anything. So when I'm speaking of, when I say collectively,
So
collectively,
she said severed relationships. You're asking us a question, and my
yeah.
response is, just like you're saying that the vast majority of black men that you're talking to, that you're
Mhm,
relating to, are not saying these things, but you're hearing this from women. In
mhm,
my world, the vast majority of black women that I am speaking to absolutely want their black man. They want to love him. They're looking for him. They're hurt from all the times that they've put themselves out for him and he hasn't shown up, either as a father or as a husband, or even brothers.
mhm.
They want that relationship with black men. I am not around black women who are tearing black men down.
Okay.
I am around black women who sometimes, as a life coach, who sometimes are speaking to their trauma and the negative experiences they've had. But even in those cases, I do not hear those women saying, I want nothing else to do with black men.
And
Having said
and
that,
okay.
there, again, it's what you choose to focus on. Because if I want to go out onto the internet and find some black woman who is spewing her pain out
Mhm.
on all black men, I can find it.
Right.
Just as I find black men like Samuels that so many black men adore, who was spewing out all his pain on black women, talking
Oh,
about
even
who's high
Samuels.
value and who's
Yeah.
whatever. Like we're not all human.
I think y'all misunderstood the brother. I understand his tone and his delivery was shitty, but I think I think he was misunderstood. And even early on, I didn't dig him, but I've actually had to look into him, and I don't take his style or even his sentiments at any rate, but I understood what he was doing. I totally understood what he was doing. It wasn't pretty, it wasn't easy to deal with, but I understood where the brother was coming from and what he was doing. Now, just to get back to what you were saying about that, and I was going to make this point earlier. Um, my love for and that's why I didn't understand what why I couldn't get out everything I wanted to get out because I was the only people that has ever abused me on this planet were black women. You know that? The only person that ever abused me on this planet were black women. And I love black women. You want to, and then it was also heartbreaking and disappointing. I'm not saying this shit so y'all can get mad and come back. Well, with whatever y'all about to come back. But what I'm telling y'all is this: that there are brothers that you look at every day that has either had mother, or aunt, or something like that do something to them, and it's traumatic. And we trying to, and all we're trying to do is just find answers. Because the thing is, our love, and I'm speaking for myself and my brother on here, is our love for black women has been unwavering, no matter what has happened. Because you know what we have done? The same thing that you have done. Said she didn't mean it. She's hurt. The same shit that you say that you have done for black men, we've done for black women. So please don't think that this is a one-way street. So when you want to say what black men have done, ask some black boy who was made to eat vomit by a black woman, who was beaten with a belt buckle and had to pass out by a black woman until he passed out by a black woman. Why he still loves the black woman, has only married a black woman, have children with only black women. So please, when you all get mad, think about who the fuck y'all talking to.
Brother,
Because
that goes both ways, because if sisters
I
got
never,
on here
I
right
just
now
said
and
it did.
started to share, let's that you're absolutely right. Both sides need to understand that we've both been traumatized. But if we're going to do tit for tat,
We're
sisters could
not.
come on here and stay on the air till the end of the year and we would
We're
not have
not
touched
doing
the
tit for tat.
surface.
What I'm telling you is this: is that it's a two-way street. And if we can't acknowledge that without saying that if you can't acknowledge that black men get hurt too, then we can't have this conversation because we'll always be trying to compare and contrast. All I'm saying is just realize that this is a two-way street, and we still love you down to your crusty ass baby toenail. So please, y'all, let's chill with that because we're not bringing anything vicious from here. We're only trying to get answers. And we're just trying to get our sisters to understand us. Please and thank you for giving us your time tonight. Okay? Will anybody have any last words? Because I got baby bottles I gotta go fill with food. Anybody have any last words though, or for any last thoughts? And Sister Aya, are you there? Did she leave?
I am definitely here.
Can you post your if you got your link, can you post it in the comments to the because there are people who are in the chat that I mean not your comments, I'm sorry, your link to your revolution, your self-love revolution. If you could post your link to your book here and even the program that you've been doing. I think what day is it? Is it day 7 or 8 right now?
Day 8.
Day 8. Okay. If you can post it here, for sisters that that people who are commenting in the chat. Okay. Um, but anybody have any more final words, brother Daktari? Anything you need to add, brother, before we go?
Nope.
Why you laughing, man?
No.
Sister Marietta, my 40-year friend. I
No,
just hmm?
no, I don't. But it was a pleasure speaking with you. I did learn some things, and I see you did too. That wasn't my father.
Oh, I always thought that was your dad. I did. I never knew that. Y'all had that black boxer, that dog, that bit Gerald ass up. You got in your yard, right? Told Gerald ass up. But Sister Aya, is there anything you want to add before we go?
No, just no, not really.
All right.
As long as we keep having the dialogues and we really are listening to each other, we will find a way.
Yes, ma'am. Well, I thank everybody for this, and I do. I appreciate your comments. I appreciate you all causing me to. As a matter of fact, hold on. Let me give me 1 second because she posted it here. I want to. Okay, copy. Let me see. Oh, 1 second. I'm copying uh this link again. I'm sorry. There we go. And I'm going to post it here. Um, so there we go. Um, yeah. So I do. I thank you guys, and I really appreciate it. I think I didn't want to talk as much as I did. I wanted to listen, but things happen, and I thank you all for pulling those things out, your brother. All right.
All right.
All right, y'all take care and y'all have a good night. And I hope we can do this again. And it's good seeing you, Marietta. Okay. And thank you, Sister Ian. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right. You have a good night.